I actually like days like yesterday. If I'm sitting in my seat all day, if I'm just trading, because I have levels
PRQ they're providing.
that I like to trade off. Knew I wanted to buy 278. Did that on the open. Actually shorted right on the open first 280, and got long 278. Wasn't here for the failure at 280 again, but you had a failure there, so you could have maybe shorted on the failure and seen if it pulled back, made a higher low. In this case, it actually just matched the low. The way it closed was not bullish at all. It's gapping above 280 now, but I think unless we, get a close back up in this area here above 281, lower prices are still in play as a possibility. But I thought things were pretty tame yesterday in terms of kind of respecting resistance and respecting support. You kind of see we still have our markup here, but basically if we come into this 281, we want to see if we move inside of this and then fail, or if we move inside and we break to the upside. If that happens, most likely we're just going to make a new high for 2019. If we come into this area here and then fail and get a close below 280 and then a gap down, we're looking not necessarily at a retest of the low, but at least a few more dollars of downside. So let's see, when did this start? This consolidation, about 6 weeks into it now. It's the market's had enough time really it's put in enough time up here to work its way closer to 290. So we'll see where we close on Friday. If we get a close above 281 today, it wouldn't surprise me if we push through the high by Friday. IWM, same thing as yesterday. Not going to really pay much attention to the upside until I start to see 152 handles. Right now, seller is very much in control. If it gets above 152, maybe it can work its way towards this trend that started from the top here at 160. All right, ALDX. So ALDX is a biotech. They have a pink eye drug. We know that it's already had a big move in the fall. It went from $8 to 16 and change, came all the way back down. So really the question is, how good is this news, and will people hold it above this 11? And I should say it's one of these, when I talk about these small biotechs, when they have the news on the drugs, is it something that can be widely used and people will easily understand? I mean, pink eye, although it's not pink eye the kind that you catch, it's an allergic reaction pink eye, so maybe that's a smaller market, but everybody can understand that. Conjunctivitis, every kid has had it. Every parent understands what it is. So it fits into that category where easy to understand, potentially widely applicable. So, and thus you have 2 million shares trading in the pre-market. It normally trades 300,000. If we go back to the day that it gapped up to 16, it looks like it did 20 million shares. So it looks like it's going to be another one of those days. After the initial reaction to 1280, sellers started to take over, tried to roll over through 11, but failed. So let's zoom in and see what we got. The buyer started to take control after 80.30 here, 8.30, 11.30, 11.50. But it's definitely a battle right now. It's not clear. It's $1.50 off the high. You have sellers here at 11.75 or so, 11.70. So basically, if we're looking at it after the open, sellers controlling right now. Does it hold this area here and get back above, let's call it 11.30? If it does, we want to see then what it does here. If it clears that, you got to deal with 12 and then 12.80. But it's going to be extremely liquid. So even though it's trading a ton of volume, and you're not going to have to risk more than 10, 15 cents. And it could have, I would say, at least 3 30 to 50 cent moves today. And on the off chance that it actually closes at the high, it could be walking into one of those situations where you gap up for another $1 tomorrow when it gets covered by more people. So that's where we are on that. So I'm going to zoom out one more time just to see after it topped out at 16. So when it pulled back into 10, it couldn't hold back above 11. It pulled back into 8.5. Couldn't hold over 10. So if it does actually fail this morning at 11 and comes into 10, it's going to be big. And basically 10 down to 990. Then the risk reward becomes extremely favorable in terms of if you catch it here and it grinds up for the next few hours. So that would still be up $3 on the day. So people would really have to like it, the news. BBBY. So this is one we bought on the gap up last quarter on earnings here. I think I got flat around 16. It went up another $1, 17. So, oh, we bought it in December. So that was okay. We put in the previous gap up. Oh, that doesn't make sense. No. So we bought it. We bought it here, and it came all the way back down to kind of prices where it was after the news. And so basically what happened was all these bigger funds that are loading up on the stock, they got really unhappy when it failed here and came back down to 14. They announced they want to replace the board, the CEO. Yeah, high short interest. Now, I don't understand. Well, we don't have to talk about that now, but there is a high short interest in it now. Trades at a low multiple. If it was to go private, it probably would go private in this area up here above 20, maybe as high as 24 or something like that. It seems like a coordinated thing, by the way. Like the hedge funds, they come out and say we want to replace everybody. Then they get an upgrade from Raymond James saying $20 target. Regardless, though, from a trading standpoint, it's going to be very in play. Should move a couple of dollars today. Let's zoom in. We knew that 17 is where it failed a month ago. If it can't hold above there this morning, it could very quickly come back down into this area here. It has a history, though. Even the day that we bought it after it gapped up in earnings, it dropped $1 on the open. We got long, and then it trended up for a few days. So it could do one of these where they just drop it out. It gets back above 16, holds above 16, and then they walk it back up. And maybe if people really do think that it's potentially going to get acquired, which it could. I mean, rates have just come down again. Just doing back of the envelope math, they probably could easily finance an acquisition in the 20s where they could cover the interest rate expense. So that is what some of the bigger hedge funds would be thinking as they're deciding whether or not to buy it today. The flip side of it is all that should have been known after they reported last quarter and raised guidance. That's why it trended all the way up to here. And then for whatever reason, it came back down to 14. So that's the flip side of the argument. So I'm not prepared for either way. I think it could fail, consolidate below 16, and then drift all the way back down, maybe to $15. I don't think it's going to go much below 15. And if we get a consolidation in the 17 area for a while and it breaks to the upside, you play it on the long side and see where they'll take it. Go to the daily. I'll just kind of show you for a second what we're talking about. When we're talking about it, working its way back. The low at the end of 2017 was 19. Tried to break out above 20 again and it failed. I guess best case scenario over the next few days, if people get back into the stock, is probably between 19 and 20. So that's BBBY. CRON reported. I don't really have an opinion about the earnings or in these early stages. I don't think it really matters that much for these companies. It's more a question of how are people positioned. We know that 19 is support. We know that people bought here and it failed. Most of those people probably got out when it failed. So this is the stock basically. 30. I tend to feel like these pot stocks are like cats. They have so many lives, so they look weak. They get crushed through a level, and then they kind of work their way back up. So I think same thing here. Like this thing gets blown through, even if it goes through 19, comes back down a little bit deeper, like $1 deeper. I would buy it. I'd also buy it if it held 19. And then you want to just see it close back above $20 and test this resistance from a few days ago. Let's zoom in. One thing I'll say about it, though, is they did buy it in front of earnings. So got bought right in the open, went to 2050, then it held 20. That's pretty clean. I guess some people got out at the end of the day. What it looks like to me is you can already see it playing out in the pre-market. Once it showed the weakness and it popped back up to the bottom of this consolidation, they sold it in the pre-market. So I would think people will still be here as sellers. Below 1950, you would think it would test 19, this area right here. So it's going to another one that's going to just be very liquid. That's kind of why I'm talking about it. Not sure if it's going to be that great, but off of this area here, off of the pre-market low potentially, and then off of 19, it could make moves off of those prices. Then we'll kind of see. We should talk about Apple again. So Apple was what I would consider best case scenario in terms of entries on shorts here, it coming all the way back down, $10. Played it for this initial bounce in the morning. Wasn't around for this rollover back down to the morning low. I think actually I shorted it before I left the desk right here, but got stopped out and then it rolled over. Yeah, I think it's probably going to make a higher low today than yesterday. I don't know if that's going to be at 190, 189, but I would start to put on some shorts again into this area here. And everyone loved the announcement, but I think people looked at that quick $10 down move, and if they get a chance to do some selling here, I should say some hedge funds are heavily shorted already, so that'll be interesting. But basically 193, 194, start to look for slowing down, sideways movement, failures, that sort of thing. Play it for a down move back to 190, something like that. Out of almost all my options, I think I still short a few 200 puts, but or calls, but not worried about that. They expire Friday. It could be good. Definitely could be good. Look for levels to develop intraday and consolidations and break of those consolidation. And then always people like to look at VWAP above or holding above or below. There's some other stuff on the second day. KHC has been consolidating for a long time. If that gets above 33, everyone should get long it. Boeing had a reversal yesterday where it got back above 370. That's important. I think people were thinking maybe it had more downside once it took out the post-news low. It didn't. In fact, when something takes out a low like this and only spends a day or so below it, those are really good candidates to just start trending higher. I think they both 380, to here, and you kind of see. Nike was involved in that blackmail scheme. It's still pretty beaten down. You want to look for spots to get in, and certainly kind of where it rolled over from mid 82s right here yesterday, or even if it came into 83 and there was a bid there and it was holding there, there's at least upside back to here. So it was a little tricky yesterday, to say the least.